Hi, it's Keith from the Evangelical Free Church, Stony Stratford, and we're continuing our series of short talks in the Gospel of Luke. And today we come to Luke chapter 18, verses 31 to 34. Jesus is setting his sights on Jerusalem. And as they're travelling on the way up, he reveals something to the inner circle of his followers, that's the 12 disciples, that he's mentioned before. Now, why do we repeat ourselves and mention things sometimes one or two times more than we first stated them? I think there's two reasons. One, we think the information is incredibly important. Or two, it's quite possible we think the people we've told it to haven't understood it the first time. And that's pretty much the reason why Jesus conveys what he does here. What is so important? Well, Jesus makes a statement. Verse 31. Jesus took the 12 aside and told them, "We are going up to Jerusalem, and everything that is written by the prophets about the Son of Man will be fulfilled. He will be turned over to the Gentiles. They will mock him, insult him, spit on him, flog him, and kill him. On the third day, he will rise again." As I said, he mentioned this on quite early on to the disciples, and he'd sort of referred to it once when he was being pressed to give the crowds a sign. So what is he talking about here? Well, quite clearly he's talking about the fact he's going to die and he will be resurrected. This is the centre of the gospel. This is what, in a sense, our whole faith, if we believe it, hangs on. You can't have Christianity without the death of Jesus and the resurrection. Or as Paul puts it, we are still dead in our sins. But Jesus doesn't just give a straight repeat of what he said before. He actually adds to it. There's two details here. Firstly, that he'll be turned over to the Gentiles. That would have been particularly shocking to the disciples. The idea of a Jew falling into Gentile hands and being put to death or mocked or, flogged or whatever, it would have seemed shocking. But there's something else here which we mustn't miss. Because Jesus says that everything written by the prophets about the Son of Man will be fulfilled. Some years ago, I read The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins. And he makes this rather sort of bold statement that the Bible is 66 books that bear little relation to one another. Well, Jesus clearly doesn't think that. Jesus here would be referring to what we call the Old Testament. And he would have been referring to the prophets, yes, but also the law, because Moses, who gave the law, was seen as a prophet. And actually he's saying all this points to me. It's that important. Everything in the law, it's there to illustrate who I am and what I'm going to do. Sometimes people talk about Jesus as if he overturned the law. But that's not what he said about it. Matthew chapter 5, the Sermon on the Mount, and verses 17 and 18. "Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. I tell you the truth, until heaven and earth disappear, not the smallest letter nor the least stroke of a pen will by many means disappear from the law, until everything is accomplished." Jesus accomplished everything. He lived the perfect life. What we can't do, living by God's law, he did. And in that way, he became the sinless, the pure sacrifice for us. He volunteered to lay his life down for us. He volunteered to take the sin that would separate us from God. Quite something, eh? Well, let me tell you, we all need it. I may be a pastor of a church. That doesn't give me sort of, superior status when it comes to the gates of heaven or anything else. I'm in need of Christ's sacrifice, Christ taking his sin upon him, that I might be spared the judgment of God. And that's what we all need. So I challenge you on that. I leave you with that. And I leave you with this. The Bible is not 66 books. It's one story, one piece of history made up by 66 books coming together and telling that history. Thanks for listening.